I need one of those intro screens with a countdown timer. It gives everybody a couple minutes to come in before the thing starts. Something with a bitchin' song. A little, couple clips or something like that. I mean, I'm no Dr. Disrespect or anything, but he's got some pretty fucking fire ones, that's for sure. Some good. If you like EDM kind of stuff, you can really crank down stuff and listen to it while you wait for the doc to show up. Speaking of the doc, he has got 263 million views on his channel. I've got 328,000. It's almost 1,000 times more. He has twice as many views on one video that he posted yesterday than I have on my entire channel. That is impressive. I mean, I think it's impressive. I mean, I'd never get there, right? That's never gonna fucking happen. But yeah, I saw a video posted yesterday, 684,000 views. I was like, holy crap. Holy crap. And it was a live stream. That was insane. I'm in the Blazer right now. I'm heading to the shop. I got 2 cars to tune. 2 cars to finish tuning. Both of them had small issues last time I tried. So they're supposed to be fixed now, supposedly. We'll see. Oh, they fixed that too. Oh, neat. One of them is an FA, flex fuel, just a couple mods. The other one is an 11 WRX with factory VF52 with the Mamba housing on it. Went to do a pull on it, and it was just crazy rich. I checked everything in there, and it should have been there. It was like, it was bottoming out the wideband rich. So I thought boost leak, or improper injectors, or high fuel pressure, or who knows what, or dirty MAF. Turns out it was probably dirty MAF. That's one thing I could find with it. The MAF was absolutely hammered on it. So hopefully that's what it was. So I can finish that one. That one's also flex. Now what's really cool about that is that Mamba housing, I've been talking about that, the P20 housing, on most of the cars that we've done that to now, which is like 6. I think we've had 6 cars in just the last month. They pick up a lot of power on the top end. Yeah, they get a little more lag, but they pick up a lot of power on the top end, like 30 wheel on the top end kind of thing, out of the factory VF housings, without increasing fuel demand dramatically. It's pretty insane. That's one thing that people talk about, is fuel flow equaling horsepower. Well, it does for the most part, but when you have excessively high back pressure that causes the engine to lose horsepower on the exhaust stroke, if you can reduce that back pressure, just reduce the back pressure, don't even increase airflow, just reduce the back pressure, you free horsepower up off the engine. That piston that's moving up, like I've said in many streams, that piston's moving up, it's got to compress that air, it's got to push against that air on the exhaust stroke. And the energy to push against that comes from the crankshaft. And the energy to turn the crankshaft comes from another combustion event. So when you lower back pressure between the turbo and the engine, even without increasing airflow, you raise power. You raise power that makes it to the wheels. And this Mamba housing, this P20 housing that we've been putting on these turbos, has been doing that. And also fixing boost creep issues, because it's got a much larger wastegate in it, and it's got the larger housing. And yeah, it's been really awesome. The boost is a little, like I said, a little laggier or whatever. Come on out. There you Boost is a little laggier, but not a lot, and it makes the whole car feel more balanced. You know, with the VF, the turbo comes on so soon and then dies so fast. The power doesn't carry very well towards redline. You know, they flatten or taper really hard. This housing helps the power stay flat or even increase towards redline, and that changes just the whole dynamic of the car and how well it feels on the factory turbo. I know when I first got into Subarus, you know, was 2000, and then in 2 the WRX came out, and then 04 people started learning more about the JDM market. And even in 03, I guess, people were getting turbos from Japan, and some of the turbos came with a P20 housing, and most came with P18 housing. And a lot of people were going, "Oh man, get that P20 housing, frees up a lot of power up top," and they were right, it does. But on the 2-liter, it increased lag pretty significantly. What was it, the VF22? I think the VF22 was a P20 housing, and that was a roller bearing turbo, not even a ball bearing turbo, roller bearing turbo, which I'd never even heard of before at the time. And that thing, when it hit hard, made good top end power for a VF turbo, but it was laggy as shit on the 2-liter. What was the other one? Was it the 34, I think, or 35 had a P20 housing, something like that. So anyways, a few turbos from Japan had the P20 housing on them, and they made great power up top. And they were the big thing for a long time, and then just kind of petered away, and nobody was doing it anymore. And then I found these P20s on eBay, and I was like, fuck, like, we should do this, because now we're in 2.5 liters. And so we started putting the P20s on these things with the 2.5 liters, and hey, it's like 2003 all over again. Like, the owners of these cars are getting significant gains and fixing problems, since external wastegates are federally illegal now. You get to fix your boost creep problem, you get to get more horsepower out of it, and reduce knock tendency. I mean, lower back pressure means less retained exhaust heat, means less knock tendency. Like, it's like a win in so many ways. So I'm really excited about that. So one of the cars today has got that housing on it. Subject change. Have you guys seen the new Blazer? I have one. I'm in it now. Got it for the wife after her BMW was hit head on by a fucking RV. She was sitting at an intersection, and this idiot was towing another idiot in an RV, and they hit my wife head on while she was sitting there doing like 40 miles an hour. She was sitting there, they were doing 40, and they hit her this head on. Pushed the BMW back like 25 or 30 feet. Totaled the car, obviously. So I had to get her something else. So I got her a 2020 Blazer. And this thing rocks. MTM says people can't drive it worth the crap anymore, especially in Washington. That is absolutely true. And good afternoon or morning to whoever said that to me a minute ago. I missed it. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's bad how bad people drive. But this dude, you know, all he had in the world was that broken down RV. He didn't have anything. And he didn't even apologize. He didn't even say sorry. I mean, he smashed our car. It was brand new. Had 6,000 miles on it. My wife's crying, and, you know, she's a little hurt. The dude didn't even say sorry. All he said was, "Yeah, man, you know, there's just some things you can't control, man. You just can't control. You just gotta, you know, accept life. There's just things you can't control." And that was it. Like, he didn't fucking apologize or nothing. I was so pissed. I just spun around and walked away. That was it. I think if I'd been there for any longer, I was gonna lay him out. I was so angry. That cocksucker. Anyways, I had to get her something. So I got her this Blazer. And it rocks. It's super comfortable. It drives straighter than any vehicle I've ever owned. It, like, you think it had autopilot on it. It never pulls, nothing. Like, the wheel stays locked straight. It just goes nice. It gets 30 miles per gallon on road trips. It's got a 308 horsepower V6. It's all-wheel drive. It's the only SUV like under 40 grand that has more than 300 horsepower. And it rips. The transmission, it's an 8-speed, but it shifts really good. And that's a big surprise from GM, honestly, because a lot of their transmissions suck. They just suck so often. The trucks are always hunting for a gear. You get that 8-speed like Tahoe. That was a terrible car to drive. Things just always shifting. Not this thing, man. This thing is always, it finds a gear where it needs to be, like, immediately. And I've never been like, shift! You know, like, ever. Where other cars, you're like, let's go, shift, do something, right? Or, you know, fucking upshift before you blow up. This one, never. I've never, ever had that emotion about it. And I think that's a good build. That's a good shift map, man. They did this thing right. It looks cool. My biggest complaints on this Blazer are the camera. At night, the screen, for some reason, goes full bright. Lights up the whole car inside. You can't even see out the windows. Just boom, and it's so fucking bright. You're like trying to see behind you, and you can't. And you can't see out the windows because it's so bright. I don't know what the fuck's up with that, but that is messed up. And then the headlights, they're HIDs. They're D3S or something like that. They weren't that bright, so I bought some $300 Philips bulbs, and they were like 50% brighter, and now the lights are quite a bit better. High beams are still pretty weak, but the lights are way better for driving around in it. Other than that, this thing rocks. It's got CarPlay and Android Auto, and doesn't have navigation because who needs that shit? You have your phone anyways, right? It's all-wheel drive. It's got 5 driving modes. You can go to front-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, sport, mud and snow, or tow haul mode. I'm looking down at them, see what they are. It's got all that stuff in it. We got the cloth interior because it's like this really cool neoprene, like scuba diving suit almost kind of texture to it, but it's super crazy comfy. Almost like I don't know, it's weird. It's hard to explain because it feels like a wetsuit, but then it has like a quilted stitching to it that makes it feel softer. I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it's really nice. You see, the seats are comfy. I had this massive sciatic nerve pain last year about this time. Actually, it was October, and didn't matter what I did. I was in excruciating pain, and we had to go somewhere, and I sat in the passenger seat. Teresa drove, and the pain went away. And then within 5 minutes sitting in the Blazer, the pain was gone. And then I was like, oh, well, maybe I'm good. And then I got out and went somewhere else, and nope. I was not good. I was in excruciating pain. So I was like, that's it. Let's go to the doctors, figure out what's going on. I thought I was having like kidney stones or something. I thought it was kidney pain. And I was curled up in a ball in the ER. And they're like, oh yeah, that's attacking your nerves and your hips. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, so here's some fucking Aleve, and they sent me out. But someone said something. There it goes. Oh, there it went. My Yukon's nav screen does that to the cabin, and I have to dim it during long night road trips. Yeah, I'm not sure what GM screwed up. I know I saw a thing where people were complaining about the screen on the Yukons and the Sierras and the Silverados up to like 2017, and they had a software update for it, but this is a 20, and there's no software update for it yet that I'm aware of. I think I seen a call Knudsen Chevrolet where I got this thing and bitch about it enough that they find something out, because it's bad. When you hit that sucker at night, hit reverse. There goes your night vision. There goes anything. It sucks. So, yeah. But I love this thing. This thing's great. Igor and I took it on some logging roads. I took it through some mud and some dirt, and and that kind of stuff out in the woods. And we got some steep roads out here. We got some steep mountains. And this thing fucking bombed down the roads. I was flying down these log-in roads, dirt, mud, gravel, whatever it was, and it just sucked everything up, sucked all the bumps up, and was extremely stable, had great traction. I was throwing it sideways all the time, and it was like the traction control system knew what I was doing, because it never intervened too aggressively, and it took a lot to make it intervene. I had the thing completely sideways before stabilizer. I was like beep 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 a little bit, but I had the sucker thrown sideways a lot. You come in, lift, brake a smidge, rotate the back end, smash the throttle again, and just drive it like an all drive Subaru rally car pretty much. And it just kept going and going and going. And like I said, it never, traction control light didn't blink. I don't know, maybe this doesn't work. I don't know what it was, but it didn't do anything. It just drove, and it was a good time. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but the intake sounds nice. I wish I had a little bit of exhaust on it, because all you hear really is intake roar to it when you actually get on it. But otherwise, you can't even hear it. Stereo's pretty decent. Just nothing to be, crazy about, but it'll make noise. It doesn't leave you wanting too much. And the climate control is really interesting. I really dig the climate control. Let me show you this. This is really neat. So it has, it's this retro look they went with on like the Camaro and these, with the round vents. But this pod looks like a retro fitted AC unit, from like the 60s when they had that. So they had that kind of look, which I think it's really neat. But what's really cool about it is your individual temperature is this guy, is you turn this around and that adjusts your temperature. And then of course it displays up on top too. And it shows down there. So you got two spots to see your temperature. But yeah, the surround of the vent is your temperature select, which is super cool. Push button. I troll people with the glove box, because you see there's no handle for the glove box. You gotta push a button. This is glove box to actually get the glove box to open. Car questions coming in. That's good. I like car questions. Let's see. If I use an oil catch can, which loop? They're asking which loop should I use the catch can on. Personally, I think the boosted loop. The boosted loop is what you should use. Now, the PCV system has 2 loops, technically 3 if you are looking. What the fuck is that? Oh, okay. If you count the PCV balance ports for the AVCS. But there's the vacuum loop and the boosted loop. So the vacuum loop goes from the PCV valve on the manifold down into the block at the top, and then fresh air is drawn in through the valve covers via the turbo inlet. So suction from the manifold sucks through the PCV valve into the block, from the block to the heads, and from the breathers on the heads that go to the turbo inlet. That's the way they draw. Then in boost, you have a bit of a flow reversal. In boost, the valve shuts, PCV valve shuts, and the turbo sucks on the crankcase through the top of the heads. Now in standard driving, in the vacuum region, there's already an Airwell separator. The factory block on the back of it, there's that metal plate, looks like Indiana. The Indiana plate, if you look behind it, there's these channels in it, and then that plate's got that horizontal section, that's a baffle in it. That's actually an Airwell separator. The job of that is to be an Airwell separator. And that Airwell separator also, you'll see if you go to the piece, the big valve above it, you look inside, you'll see there's an orifice in there. And that orifice is really small. And that orifice controls how much air is being drawn out of the crankcase in cruise, essentially, and prevents you from overwhelming the air oil separator in cruise. And like I said, it works pretty good. In boost, however, there's no air oil separator effect happening. In boost, pressure goes from the rings into the crank, into the block, out the heads. All right. So once you do that, now you have unfiltered air going into the turbo inlet. So if you're going to use any circuit in particular, it should be the boosted circuit, because the vacuum circuit already has an air oil separator in it, and the vacuum circuit keeps it pretty clean. It's the boost circuit where the blow-by is more than the system can handle, and the blow-by is really high. And so that's where you should put it, is in that boosted circuit, if that makes sense. Obviously, I'm not, you know, where the fuck do I park? I don't know where the fuck to park. There's cars everywhere here. They opened the door and waved at me, and I'm like, okay, but I need to park somewhere. So yeah, the boosted circuit is where you should do it. So trying AOS routing, what do you think of some people removing the turbo header coolant tank and just using the coolant bleeder and the AOS to bleed the system's coolant line? I think that's a terrible idea. Is somebody... Oh, you know what? I'm not on the Wi-Fi at tier 1 because I reset my phone to this. Sorry about that. Where the fuck do I park? This, where the fuck do I park?
What's up?
Where the fuck do I park?
Anywhere you can find.
I mean, you guys have the dyno blocked by a lowrider. So, I mean, I gotta do 2 cars here. So I need to, you know, get.
I'll move it real quick.
Okay.
All
right. I'm just gonna park behind the pink one, I guess, maybe?
I can move it if you want, actually.
I just need to figure out where to park.
I can move this. You can park it there.
Where you can put that one?
In the open spot where one lane's working on.
The one with the huge puddle under it?
Yep. There's an open space on the back there.
Oh, on the back?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'll just park further down back here. I'm sorry, what was the question? Oh, the tank. Right. So the factory radiator cap on the radiator doesn't perform like a normal radiator cap does. It doesn't have the suction relief that draws fluid into the engine. It only has an overpressure relief. The one on the expansion tank has the cap itself is made for drawing in coolant when the engine cools back off again. So if you do get rid of the expansion tank, you got to make sure you get rid of the round radiator cap with no nubs on it. That's got to go away. You need the regular one with the nubs on it, because the one with the nubs on it has the suction port on it. The one without the nubs doesn't. So so that sucks. Second, the radiator is not the highest point in the system. The expansion tank is. So yeah, you can use the AOS, but you're now not venting from the highest part of the system during normal operation. And it makes sense to vent from the highest portion of the system, because the steam pockets and vapor pockets are going to go to the highest point in the system. If you vent from the middle of the system, or, you know, 3/4 of the way up, right, then you're not going to get the effects that you want. And if you have steam gather in the radiator, and that's your gathering point, then you're going to increase the amount of steam in the radiator and reduce your cooling potential, and also affect your flow. Having vapor pockets in a tube reduces the flow in that tube. So keep that fucking expansion tank, people. Why do you always get rid of that thing? I don't understand. So, oh, I don't have a water-cooled turbo anymore. Like, whatever, keep that tank. Let's do this. Yeah. I'm 4-buying the fucking Blazer. And the guys were panicking because I was punching it at the GTR. Yeah, a lot of people try and make things look better in that engine bay, and it's hard to do. It's hard to make that engine bay clean, that's for sure. With that being said, some people should try harder to make it look cleaner, because I've seen some fucking ugly engine bays. And that's why I did the that plate that holds most of my fuel stuff. It covers the transmission, the ugliest part of the engine bay, and a bunch of the hoses that are in that area and the wiring stuff. And then I mounted my ethanol sensor and my fuel pressure regulator and my fuel filter on this nice aluminum plate that covers the whole area in the back. It looks really nice. I did that just to help out the engine bay some. It made a big difference. Since I don't need airflow through there because I don't have a top mount, and I had the scoop mostly blocked off anyways, except for a little port to blow air down the turbo. Yeah, that worked out really well. All right, so shop. Let's see what's going on here. Let's see what we got. Ugh. Sorry. What? Is there like a concert that I'm missing or something? Because y'all just stand here waiting for somebody?
We wanted to hear about who you cursed at today.
Who did I curse at?
I don't know.
Oh. Oh, that was good. I haven't had any issues. No. These are sports. They're just, I got them tire rack.
Okay.
I want this thing open. Come on. There we go. I guess I didn't hit the button enough. Cooling mods here. Woo! Lots of cooling mods. I gotta send those, go to the UPS store on the way out of here and drop those off. Oh, hit the button. It's actually got a really big trunk and tons of legroom. Chase bought one too. It's not here yet. Look at the legroom in here. And the seat reclines. Look, there's a handle. And slides forward and back. It's pretty cool. I enjoy it. And it hauls ass. It's like an oil slick over here. It sounds blown up. Are they the ones that just showed up right now?
No.
Some people just are walking up right now.
Oh, nice. Oh, no, that's the rat car. How's it going, man?
Yeah, how's it going?
Good.
Which car? That thing sounds great. All I needed was a transmission?
Yep. Yeah, they called. They said the transmission's bad. We said, yep.
What are you guys doing?
Pulling that car out to Kevin just finished up.
Oh, he's done with it?
Yep.
Okay.
Turn to the right.
Keep going. There you go. There's my car. This thing needs the white wheels off my red car.
Yeah.
Dude, it would look sick with those wheels on it.
Yeah.
These don't match this at all.
No.
No,
You
he
do the
wants
lime
to
green
get.
brakes.
He's gonna do a black pair for winter, and then he's gonna do a bronze pair for summer.
I think the white would be better. I think white would definitely be better on this scheme.
Yours have 6 spots?
Because it would give it kind of that army feel, you know, with the... Mine sticks, yeah.
6 spots?
But they'll still wear.
Are they silver?
No, mine are 4 pots, I'm sorry.
Oh. I was
But,
gonna say the silver 6 spots is what.
dude, they look really good, yeah. Yeah, this thing with the silver 6s and then the white wheels would be really cool. So you just gonna like fix that later sometime when he comes back? Or are you gonna leave it looking fucked up like that?
Yeah,
I didn't say anything, I was just being funny.
you know what? Most of the time I'd be like, find.
No, it looks good. Yeah.
Most of the time I'd be like, find an imperfection, but I doubt it. I doubt you would.
Well, don't challenge me.
It's freaking nice.
It is, looks good. Looks good, yeah, dude. Yeah, I'm telling you, man, I think the white is the right color for this. I hate white wheels. What did you do? That's a good wrap job. So Kevin wrapped that this last week. Took the whole fucking car apart to do it. You know, some guys will just push the wrap in with a tool in between the body panels and stuff. But what Kevin does is actually takes the body panels off and then wraps around the edge, so you get a more complete wrap around it, and also you're less likely to have it peel at those edges and stuff.
It'll be a couple minutes. Or actually, straight, sorry. Maybe not seeing it?
Hey, dude. How you doing? Good. Good. Anyways.
It turned out super good.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, the green's super good. I think it was the right choice to do the top black and the top of the mirrors black.
Yeah.
I think the green would have been too much on the mirrors.
Yeah.
I think it turned out super nice.
And I like getting rid of that sunroof rectangle.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go straight now.
I know.
You had.
That was on purpose.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's pretty.
I don't do that way.
I match your car.
And his hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's pretty funny.
Why doesn't he just go forward and get more left?
I don't know. Lane's guiding him, so it's
Oh, okay.
taking him the fun way.
Excuse me. It smells funny in here. Look at that door. That sucks. That's a bummer. Alright. Well, so that's the car I got to tune. I got my snow tires in there. If anybody has a BMW X2 or X1, I have snow wheels and tires for one. They're really good, but that asshole hit my fucking X2, and look at the leaves they blow in here from having the dyno fans on. It sucks. I just swept it all out a couple days ago, and then they're all in here again. Plus, we had a massive windstorm the other day. Oh, it's all this shit. Oh, left arm hurts. So everybody knows I had a tendon reattached to my left arm
I'm
about
not done with that.
a few months ago. Oh, are you not?
In this map, we just decided to put a new one in it instead because it was pretty
Fucked
it
up?
was bad.
Okay.
The temp sensor was like black,
Yeah.
and one of the cords on the
The actual nav sensor itself?
was black, and I cleaned it. I'm like, we'll just put a new one in so it's good.
Okay.
Check this injectors. They are 1050s,
Okay.
so we get there.
Yeah, you'd be driving home already if I pulled it out.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was saying. I was like, if it was one of us three, it would have already been out of here.
I probably should have handbrake turned it and, called it good.
That's the one that just spent, a week and a half.
Put the diff in rear and just.
Yeah. This is got the Mamba housing, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I to hold the oil dipstick down, I taped it down when I was pressurizing it,
Oh, yeah?
so I could get some pressure in it before I had to hold it down.
Yeah.
Worked.
Yeah. Nice. Cool. Yeah, the car was crazy rich for some reason. And, I thought something's fucked up, boost leak or intercooler. Intercooler looks like it's starting to come apart anyways. It's a factory intercooler, and you see the crimp around the edge. It's not very crimpy anymore. It's starting to open up a little bit. So that's always a concern. I'll show you right here. This crimp right here is usually nice and pinched and square, and it's starting to open up some. Doesn't look very square anymore. I don't run high boost, but doesn't mean the previous guy didn't. I see here, it's actually more crimped. See how it's more compressed here? Then right here in the middle, or on this edge, see in the middle here, it's opened up some. So
Yeah, there it is in here. Just
that one is very, very crimped. That side's not very crimped. So I was concerned.
Still see some spots on it.
Yeah, it's still pretty nasty. So I was concerned that the intercooler was coming apart in boost. I was creating a boost leak. Technically, I could get some channel locks, I suppose, and squeeze each one of those crimps individually and just cinch it down a little more. But then I worry about work hardening the metal to where it just gets weaker and finally breaks anyway. So I don't know. I'm streaming because I've been streaming forever. And
Yesterday?
I didn't stream yesterday either. And it's the day before Thanksgiving Eve, and I wanted to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Because tomorrow's road trip day, so.
Road trip day.
West Side. Just go see Teresa's family.
Pizza place, West Side.
And West Side Pizza, yeah. We're gonna road trip West Side Pizza.
I saw you put
Get a pie! The wife said she wanted pie for Thanksgiving, and I thought she meant pizza pie. So tomorrow we're going to wake up and pack everything up and then leave.
We're gonna wake up early.
Nah, we're not gonna wake up early. Waiting for the sun to come up.
Okay, early.
Because it's gonna be, yeah, early for me, yeah, exactly. And then, what is that? What's up, Cam?
He said I should help you.
You should help me? All right. We'll stand there and look cute for a little while. So tonight we're gonna make and prepare some stuff and then bring it over. I'm gonna put some cookie dough together. I'm not gonna bake the cookies. I'm gonna take refrigerated cookie dough with me to the west side, and then we're gonna make some cookies at a friend's house and then at another friend's house. So lots of cookie dough. And then make, say what?
Nothing.
And then some pumpkin pies.
Just surprised his friends.
Pumpkin pies? Who, me?
I'm surprised you didn't.
No, we're gonna see Teresa's family.
Oh.
I don't have any friends.
I'm talking about cookies.
Oh,
You're not leaving us any, that's cool.
I'm not making anything here.
Well, you can leave us dough.
I have been feeding you fuckers cookies for the last couple weeks.
Hey. You know what?
What?
Let's stuff you're eating for them because they're good.
Yeah.
I don't know how that changes anything.
That doesn't matter. I don't know what you're
You know, then you could, throw in some fucking coconut or sugar or chocolate chips or something to help me, you know?
Oh, he needs, that's.
I need materials.
I can deal with that. I'll buy you all the materials.
I need materials.
Recoup the cost.
I will buy everything you need if you make me 5 pounds worth of.
It brings in a
Holy
gallon
fuck.
Ziploc bag, just.
Yeah, like, give me that.
Have you so many cookies?
That's
5
fine.
pounds.
Honestly, I
of
just want you to get like sausage packaging and just make dough tubes.
Dough tubes? Dude, the
Then
dough,
just freeze 'em.
the dough's better than the cookies.
Of course, it always is.
Dude, it's really good. The dough's so good, goddamn good.
It always is.
It's really good.
Yeah, I'll just eat it with a spoon in front of the TV.
The only thing about the dough that sucks is that I use those big ass chocolate chips because they melt and like cover like
Oh,
a
yeah.
layer of the cookie inside. There's like a layer, a chocolate
Yeah.
layer in there. And so when you have the dough though,
Yeah, there's.
it's a big ass chocolate chip. So
So?
you're like, what's the same concentration? It doesn't get distributed evenly as good. But it's like peanut butter cups, right? Regular peanut butter cups, all right. But the fun size peanut butter cups
Yeah,
are
even
great
by the handful.
because the freaking chocolate to peanut butter ratio is
It's better,
different
yeah.
in the fun size than it is in the full size cups.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely better.
All right, well, I'm gonna look at your ingredients. I'm gonna buy everything.
All right. Yeah, I sent you guys a recipe, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you think this thing's ready?
I don't know.
All right. Let's find out.
We put like 15 pounds in it before something blew off,
Okay.
and it wasn't leaking. Well, it was leaking out of the oil cap. I don't know if we put it over. Did you put it over again?
I don't know. I wasn't part of that. Oh, there's no O-ring at all?
No, it was leaking out of here like crazy.
What, was there an O-ring on it?
No.
Oh. Oh, that's a PCV leak too. That's an unmetered air leak for the PCV system
Uh-huh.
and stuff. That'd explain my idle trims.
It didn't start leaking until about, I don't know, like a good amount. It wouldn't read on the gauge because you couldn't build over like maybe 10 pounds.
Okay.
But like a couple of pumps that would start leaking.
Interesting.
So I put it on a little bit.
Pumps. All right, let's get that door open for the fans. Ugh, the worst sound in the world is an air compressor. I hate air compressors. Why aren't there any burgers on the? Any dogs on the dog machine?
There's a bunch of chicken and stuff on the table.
I don't want chicken and stuff. I wanted dogs on the dog machine.
I know, we can't use any today. That was yesterday.
Oh, slackers.
I don't know weird thing about that one.
What?
The driver switch isn't rolling up the passenger window, but it's working for every other switch.
The what?
The driver control panel for the windows is rolling up every window but the passenger one.
It's working.
That was for the passenger switch.
It's fine. They figured it out. Dana figured it out. It's my airplane. It's my airplane that I built. Ugh. There's a car there. We had a porcupine out here a month or so ago, running around out back. It's cute. That's where I'm at my vet.
You like it?
I'm just looking at it, looking at the space in here.
Now I was thinking about the FAs. Their pan is like here.
Oh,
They're flat on the bottom.
Right.
They don't have any of the water pump drop down or anything like that.
right.
And the oil pan is the bottom studs also.
Right. On the FA, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though the pan I think the lower pan is the same.
Oh, is it?
Legacies and the FAs.
Just the full
Looks
piece?
exactly the same. This is what I was talking about.
Spinny.
We have plenty enough clearance for come out, but if you did this section fairly flat right across here, you could bring a piece out on it and then have, a suction or whatever you wanted on it. That's why I was asking about the external one, because you can suck off the bottom of the pan with the hose on it. Like the IAG pans have the two bungs on them.
Right.
Nice, thanks.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Say what? I don't know what he said. I didn't hear you. Oh, these are snow tires for your Beamer?
Got some Continental.
Nice.
Two of them still have the seam on the tread
Nice.
where they're molded together.
Sweet,
I've
dude.
never ran those before.
Yeah, I mean, they're not as soft as Blizzaks, but few things are.
Tanner got some
These are Tanners?
Himalayas, yeah.
Got it for $100.
Nice. That's for your Beamer?
Yeah.
Oh.
Those 15s over there.
I don't have any on my BMW,
I love those Himalayas. I've used it forever.
which is why I have the Blazer here today. I need to get some for the Beamer, for sure.
Man, trying to find used ones in my size was rough.
Yeah?
I was looking for a couple weeks.
All right. Put the dyno key on the thing, not in my pocket, because
Kylie bought.
that would be a mistake. All right, let's go get this car ready. I got to do a couple things. I got to put the phone down and use my hands, and then I'm going to start tuning this car. So I put the phone down for a minute. I'm going to set it up somewhere inside the car, I think. I need to get like a little stand or something. And gotta get all my shit hooked up and all that. So I will be back in a second. Let me turn this around. if it gets in the way, get the killer bee small one versus deleting it. Back to work. There you go. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Happy Thanksgiving to you guys. The guys that stopped by and have left. With me a uniquely only compressor. Hey Bradley. I'm softer than a Blizzak right now. Oh, I'm sorry. Here. How about now? All right, I'll hook some things up, and I'll be right back. Hello. Come on. What the hell? I finally catch a stream while it's still live and he's dipped out. So dumb. I should tee together the vent pipe from the heads and the vent pipe from the... Oopsie, it went away. Come on now. The vent pipe from the heads and the vent pipe from the crank. And then goes the turbo inlet and connect them to the input of the catch can. Alright. Sorry about that. This thing started. I wonder if you put a gasket on that fill cap. I forgot to check that. I'm sure you did, right? I will plug this in and go find out. Alright, so you asked me about the AOS. Let me preface this by saying I don't run AOS. I don't have one. I have in the past, and I know that in function, if they actually function, then they're a great idea. But I don't run one. So aside from that, I haven't done back-to-back testing on AOSs, so I can't tell you which one's better. I haven't tested all the different flow passes, which one give you the most, the best usage. I can just tell you that knowing the flow paths and knowing what is being demanded of the system, where I would run it if I was to actually run one. Okay, so preface by saying that. I don't like tapping into the hose from the inlet to the block. Only because it makes it fucking messy. It makes it messy. And if you get rid of the plastic piece that came from the factory, some people do that. They get rid of the plastic from the factory. The one with that orifice that I was talking about earlier, right, with the hole in it that controls the flow, then you completely fuck up the entire PCV system altogether. And we don't want to do that. So I like to leave that one alone and just attack where I think majority of the flow is going to be. When you're in boost, the heads are baffled where it goes to the turbo inlet, but they flow a lot more than that hole does in the one on top of the block. So while I'm gonna get some flow through that hole, the majority of the flow that I get is gonna be from the heads. And that flow through the small hole is there to be limiting, to help keep the AOS in the block from getting overwhelmed. Does it get overwhelmed? Likely. Does it do a very good job of pulling out oil out? Not great. Definitely doesn't do great. It does better than having nothing there, but it doesn't do great. But at the same time, I'd rather get the bulk of the stuff coming from the valve covers before it goes in the turbo inlet than anything else. So personally, I would just go to the valve covers. That's personally what I would do. Now I see a lot of guys get rid of the factory plastic one that has the orifice in it and go to something without an orifice, and that becomes the drain path for the AOS when you're out of boost and everything. The problem with that is I see a lot of guys also suck oil in during the drain process, suck oil into the engine, and have really oily intercooled pipes, have really oily throttle body, really oil down cylinders and that kind of stuff. And so the drain path isn't a good path if you give it the ability to have full flow, because then the vacuum from the crankcase just sucks a ton of air and you can potentially get it from there. Now if you eliminate the PCV in the intake manifold where it goes to that back piece, if that port on the head is only used for drain back, then that's okay. I still just don't like it. I don't like it as a place to drain back. I don't like it at all. I more wish that the drain back had a check valve on it and it went to the AVCS balance ports. That's where I wish it was, which is the other port on the head or on the middle port on the block with that little 90 degrees where the crankshaft slings a bunch of oil up. I would rather see the drain be check valves and going to one of the ports on the head, or the turbo oil drain. That's where I prefer to see the drain go. I don't like it because even with the highest end AOSs, I still see a lot of cars that get a bunch of oil in the intake, and I haven't investigated it, but looking at the way the system works, it appears to me that the issue is where the drain is fed to and how it functions. When the engine gets high vacuum again, it seems to me like it's sucking oil into the engine. So I think that the drain circuit needs to be isolated, needs to be on a check valve, needs to be downhill only and not run horizontal like a lot of them do. They're horizontal for a while. Needs to go to the turbo drain or something like that for them to actually be effective. That's my belief, but again, I haven't tested it. And all I know is what I see based on the cars I've taken apart that have AOSs on there that are often just oily, and in some case oilier than other cars. I've had others that show up and they're clean and dry and good, but I haven't seen enough proof to convince me to run one myself. If I was to run one, I'd either make it myself or I would use like an IAG one. I've known people who have fixed the oil in the pipes by going to a comp AOS from Street. Yeah, and see, that's a whole nother issue there too, right? It's a whole nother issue when you go to a comp. Now you no longer have any vacuum on the crankcase. None. The comp eliminates crankcase vacuum, which means it increases windage losses and you lose horsepower by going to a comp AOS. So I don't see a point. I don't see a point in the comp. Street is the way to go. I mean, Subaru has a street one built into it. That's what it is in the back of the block. That's what it is in the heads. They got the baffling in the heads. Like, they have it built into it. But the drain is already right there too, you know? And if you look at the crossover pipe that's mounted to the intercooler, look at how that hose is routed and how that crossover pipe is routed. It isn't a T on top of the turbo inlet with a short hose and a long hose. They take that metal line and they go across the top of the intercooler and they tee it in somewhere a little off center even. It's not even quite center, but it's more towards the driver's side than anything. And then they go down the valve covers. So there's this long pipe that's this freaking long, that's metal, comes from where the pipe comes together, goes along next to the other pipe, and then goes in the turbo inlet. And everyone gets rid of that. Now, OEMs don't do shit for no reason. that pipe is that way for a reason. Why? Unfortunately, we don't know why. And I speculated a few things. One, that section of pipe is metal. And it's the only section of pipe that's metal. It's the first observation. Two, it's long. And it goes the width of the intercooler. And where does it sit? By the scoop. Three, it doesn't tee in right there. It tees in over past center a little bit. So they've added a long 18, 20 something inch amount of pipe to this system on purpose, right? That's more money to produce. Why? I thought perhaps it's for temperature control. Perhaps the purpose of that is to cool it off so the oil vapor in there collects more in that pipe, and then you get more drips and less vapor itself. The location of the tee, perhaps for cylinder or side-to-side imbalance, right? As you lengthen a hose, you increase the restriction, you reduce the flow. Is this thing warm yet? Almost. And then the metal is just there because that's what needed to be attached to the intercooler. I'm thankfully cutting your nails. I'm still dirty. I'm one of the most hygienic people I know. My friends always say that. I shower all the time. I always smell like soap. I got a dirty mouth though. Not just because of my language, but I got this scar tissue on my tongue that gives a huge lump in the middle of it. Let's see. Yeah, so I don't know why that pipe is designed the way it is. Like I said, I had some ideas. One of them was temperature, one of them was just length, one was balance or whatever from bank to bank, but it's done that way for a reason. And a lot of people move that T over to one side of the engine and get rid of that longer section and either negate the temperature control or negate the balance or whatever. So I don't really know. What if plastic crossover hose on a plastic manifold? It's the same thing, right? Because it has that tube in it for a while before it attaches it, and then it has a big fat section, and then it has like a Venturi effect where it gets narrow again. So I think it's the same deal. It's there for a freaking reason. Why make a big complicated plastic piece that costs more money if you don't need it? There is a purpose, and unfortunately we don't know what it is. I don't know enough Subaru engineers to be like, yo, what's up? Tell me the gouge, you know, what's the deal with this? But I feel like that a lot of people just get rid of that stuff willy-nilly without putting thought into why it was made that way. I need to check that O-ring, make sure you put that fill cap back on and shut it. Okay, it's there. Woo! This thing's got race seats in it, so it's really low. I'm gonna flip my phone over. What's the hell? There we go. And would it be safe to say that engines seem to make more noise when it's cold outside than when warm? Outside? Or do you mean in warm-up? I mean, in warm-up, yes. I mean, it starts off at a much colder temperature. It's going to be louder. Outside. Well, let's see. What kind of things make noise in the engine, and what kind of things will be affected by temperature to make noise in the engine? The loudest things you hear in a Subaru tend to be injectors, potentially valve train. Injectors are often mistaken for valve train noise, especially when you get like an aftermarket injector that flows a lot. They get really loud. Oh, that is not a good shifter. Okay. I would say fuel temp. I would say fuel temp would cause it. When the fuel is colder, the fuel is denser, and the fuel is denser, it transmits sound better. The higher the density, the closer it is in density to the material that's encapsulating it, and it is to the source of the noise. When sound goes through materials at varying densities, there's a reflection, and you lose some of it. So the closer they are in density to each other, the more sound propagates from one material to the next. So if I increase fuel density, I therefore make it more conducive, more conductive to sound, and my injectors now get louder because they pulsate to the rails better and into the hard lines of the car and all of that. So I think fuel temp could have something to do with it. When it's outside, the fuel is much colder than it is during the summer. It takes a lot longer to warm up the fuel, if you're even able to get it warm, because you have a gigantic tank under there with air flowing under the car, and it's 30 degrees outside. So I would say that could definitely be a factor. Yeah, my fuel trims are all good. Weird. You could have a leak. He said, not everyone can see the chat. I realize that because the chat replay takes a while to come up on YouTube. Sometimes it's days even. He says, since it's gotten cooler out, it seems like I'm hearing more valve noise from the passenger side. I was thinking I was hearing the exhaust pulses more through that. I mean, if your oil's colder, I don't know if you have an oil cooler or oil warmer or the factory one or what, but if your oil's thicker, you could be getting more valve train noise, not getting good oil flow. You could have a cam that's failing on you. The passenger side, any side, is known the cams to, well, the factory cooler is, it's got a factory cooler on it, right? The factory one that has the oil warmer slash cooler that's under the, by the header, by the oil pan. Something still ain't right here. Something still ain't right. Why are you so freaking rich? It's because of the tune. It's always the tune, man. It's always the tune. Spun a bearing? Tune. Get bad gas mileage? Tune. Can't possibly be your right foot. Misfire? Tune. Can't because you went 70,000 miles without changing your spark plugs. Or 150 without putting new coils on it. It's always the tune. In fact, at one point, we were going to get shirts made that said, it's always the tune. I do some remote tuning, but I'm super picky about how to do it and what mods you have and that kind of stuff. So like 2658, I'm not going to remote tune your speed density car on the factory ECU. That's just not happening. Speed density tunes take a load bearing dyno that holds the car still in one spot to be done correctly. It takes a lot of time, and I'm not e-tuning that for anybody. Someone needs a base map to get from point A to point B. I'll do a base map. but I'm not gonna do that. Corey, oopsie. I was gonna do that, but with it saying it's the thermostat. It has some Cosworth pistons in it. Okay. Yeah, man, that's a bummer. Email's the best way to talk to me about that. I can answer your questions or get you a base map or get you set up with whatever. Give you some advice, recommendations, or that kind of stuff. I see this thing's still crazy, stupid rich. Hey, it's not rich anymore. Wow. I'm telling you, man, these housings, they make a fucking difference. Like, this car has no business making this kind of horsepower. It's got big wheels and tires on it. My dyno's a fucking dream crusher in the winter. It just drops the power output a ton in the winter. And yeah, that's fucking, that's all right. It did 290 wheel, which on this dyno was a lot. Looks like you got a little lean on the top ends. I don't know if that's because I have it tuned to be that lean, as opposed to tune it to be rich. But the new mass airflow sensor definitely fixed it being totally fucked up rich. It was, like I said, bottoming out the widebands. It was so rich. So they replaced the map, and look at that. Now it's perfect. So that's good. It's pretty close to my requested values, but I think I tweaked the math before trying to see what was going on, so I need to double check that calibration. 3501, nope, it's still the right calibration. So yeah, that's good. And I screwed up and didn't log it, so I gotta do it again. Gotta do it again, but yeah, that's really good. Let me show you in a second here. I do want to pull this one with a log. I've got no timing on this thing either. Wow. So I've got 7 degrees of timing on this thing. 7 to 9 at peak boost. And peak boost right now is only 17 PSI. And, oh, it did throw an occupant though, up top. At 62. I didn't see that. I'll show you guys in a second. Let me get this thing pulled up. Check out this power curve. That's what I'm talking about with these housings. Trying to zoom. There it goes. There's boost and horsepower. It knocked right at 65, or at 6,000. So technically it was 61.5. So it pulled a degree and a half. But you can see how if it didn't even pull that degree, the power would have carried even better. Air fuel does go a little leaner up there. Let me show you the air fuel here. Don't think necessarily that that's why it gets through the knock event, but I'll show you regardless. Right here, air fuel did go lean out only 11.5, and the boost is only 12 pounds. So it isn't like it's stupid, crazy lean or anything like that. But I will add a smidge of boost right here after I check my injector duty cycle, see if I can have enough injector for it. See if I have to lower the boost or what up top. But you get an idea of how wide and good looking that power band is with this housing versus the factory housings. I really dig them. Really nice. It's going to torque up. It's torque up well. And I told you I had 7 to 9 degrees of timing up here at peak. You can see it. You see it's not as smooth as it could be, and it's not as peaky as it could be. I don't like super peaky torque curves, for one. But two, I hear this click. And I hear the click in the transmission in 4th gear. It makes me think that there's a chipped tooth in it. Because it sounds like a rock in the tires, but it only happens when I get in 4th gear. So I have a feeling there's a chipped tooth on 4th gear. So I'm not in any hurry to take this up and make this torque this big huge spike. Still in a 5-speed, still factory head studs. That big torque spike down low is what rips these motors to shreds. So I'm trying to prevent that. So like I said, I got 7 degrees through here, and then like 9 right here-ish. So you see that power comes up. A little burble there, that could be cam timing. I'll take a look and see what it is. But yeah, I anticipate it not to have super clean big torque spike, trying to keep it down and keep the transmission in the car and the heads on it. And this is pump gas. This car also has ethanol to go, so I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not sure. So there you go. You get an idea. So you see, I got, oh, I don't think my dam's at 1. I think my dam went down. So I got a positive finite learning. So I don't know when the dam dropped. It looks like the dam might have dropped. I don't know why it's not logged right here. I usually have that logged. I must have missed it. I need to zoom out though, don't I? Sorry about that. Well, obviously, since the cold is super fast, it goes away if it happens most of the time. The block one plugged in. Based on the street tunes, well, that's the truth. See, it was the tune. What housing makes the power? This is the Mamba housing. It's the P20 housing. Is that pee in a bottle? That would be some seriously fucked up bladders if that was pee in a bottle. That is some orange shit right there. I mean, the phone doesn't show how orange it is, but that's like that's orange Gatorade orange. That would be some messed up pee. That motherfucker needs to go to the hospital. Not sure. Shuttle blade might be a hot side of the turbo. Yeah, it's got the Mamba housing. Otherwise, it's got exhaust Mamba and it's pretty much stock. Cobb SF, turbo back exhaust, P20 Mamba housing, stock everything else. Ethanol. What do you consider the danger zone? On ethanol. The danger zone. I don't think there's a such thing as a danger zone on ethanol. So when tuning ethanol, you have to take a lot of things into account. You have to take into account the usage of the car, and of course the power and the duty cycle, right? The duty cycle goes with the usage. So if it's a track car, an endurance car, the duty cycle is going to be very, very high. You need to compensate for that. If it's a street car, duty cycle is not high. You're not spending an hour full throttle only braking for turns, right? Adding an equal head would really make it. Yeah, not really. I mean, anytime you add volume to the exhaust pre-turbo, you increase lag, and I don't know if this turbo would flow enough to really give us the opportunity to see big gains out of it. Maybe. I mean, we definitely would lose some more spool that way because we're adding a lot of volume to the system. But it might bump that top end horsepower up a little bit more. Hey man, have a good Thanksgiving yourself. Okay, so AFR and ethanol. So it's important. Come on, stop it, phone. So it's important to take the usage into account. I'm trying to think where to start this conversation because there's so many aspects to it. If you look at fuels, there's often they'll often say, "Oh, well, peak power happens around this AFR," and really, that's bullshit. A lot of that peak power happens around this AFR crap is based on carburetors and the data they've acquired. I've been on the dyno, engine dyno, and this guy's like, "Oh, well, you need to add more fuel. It's not making enough power." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's not how this works, man." He's like, "I've been doing this 40 fucking years. That is how it works." I'm like, "Yes, on a carburetor, that's how it works. But on a port injected engine or a direct injected engine, that's not how this works." Well, let me explain to you why. In a carburetor, the fuel is admitted really far from the cylinder. It's emitted in the venturi during the pressure change that goes through that venturi. You're emitting fuel there. And spraying the fuel, having the fuel atomized in that low pressure region, cools the charge a lot and makes it denser. And it densifies the entire charge all the way to the engine. In a port injected car, the injector is right next to the valve, right? It's spraying the port, down the port a little ways, but at the back of the valve. You're not getting that effect of cooling the intake charge dramatically like you would on a carburetor. So adding extra fuel doesn't necessarily increase any air cooling. Maybe a little bit, and a little bit at higher flow rates. But the amount of time that the fuel has to perform that transfer and the amount of air volume that affects in the entire runner and everywhere after the turbo and everything is a very small percentage. So when you see them say, "Oh, well, peak power happens at 12.3 or 13.2 or whatever it may be," that's in a carburetor because the extra fuel passes in there, provides more cooling to the airstream, and densifies the entire air column before it gets into the cylinder. So why do fuel injected engines run extra fuel? Why don't we just run 14.7 all the time? Well, if you have a BMW B58 from the factory, it does run 14.7 all the time. It's direct injected and you're in full boost on a factory tune, you're at 14.7. They run that bitch stoic all the time. So, I'm talking Air Delta T. Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of that. So, so why do turbo cars tend to run richer AFRs? Well, they tend to run richer AFRs because of heat management. The extra fuel is there to remove heat from the chamber. A forced induction car has a much higher. Hey Nick, have a good one. Thanks for stopping by. And I'll be driving, so I don't know how safe it's going to be. But thank you for the kind words, and have a good Thanksgiving. So anyways, the extra fuel is used to control the temperature in the chambers by removing extra heat and carrying out the tailpipe. When you see that black soot out the tailpipe of a forced induction car, That black soot is heat leaving the engine. That's why it's put in there. A forced induction car has a much higher power density than an NA car. I mean, if you think about it, if you have 8 engines and their VE is all 100 when they're in power, they all have the same power density for the most part. They're all gonna have about the same power density. So they have the same amount of heat load per cubic inch in the engine. But when you start adding boost and you start adding back pressure and you change that power density, you have more power per cubic inch or cubic centimeter if you're a non-freedom unit guy. And so that extra heat plates out in areas. Extra heat sticks to the piston, extra heat sticks to the valve, it stays in the chamber, and it finds areas to gather. It stays in the spark plug tip, the ceramic insulator, it stays in the chamber. And it creates hot spots that could potentially produce detonation or just plain out get too hot and cause damage. So we add extra fuel to remove that heat, take it out the tailpipe. Now with ethanol, with ethanol we start off already you start out already with more of it. You're already injecting 30% more ethanol than you are pump gas by mass. You have 30% more ethanol by mass than pump gas. So guess what? You're automatically, just by default, removing more heat from the chamber. So I don't need to pump as much, or correction, I need to operate as far on the rich scale on ethanol as I do on pump gas, because I already got 30% more going in the first place. So I'm already pulling more heat out. On top of that, ethanol is an alcohol, and I get a little more cooling in the airstream anyways, a little bit. And it has less BTUs per unit mass than gasoline. So at the same volume of ethanol to gasoline, I have less energy. So I gotta have more ethanol in there to get more energy out of it. So what do I run? Well, it depends. If it's a circuit car, I'm gonna run a rich. I'm gonna run a rich because I want to ensure that I'm pulling heat out of that sumbitch. And as the fuel heats up, and as other things happen, I want to make sure that we're keeping it safe. The car that we did Pikes Peak on, he also ran in a circuit, and ethanol will knock when you run it hot enough, long enough. And so that sucker was on a gasoline scale. It was still 11.3 on a gasoline scale with ethanol. And it had pump gas timing on it, because as it got hot and ran, it would start to knock. Then when we set the Pikes Peak record, that still stands, I've only mentioned that 100 times, I'm sure, we had water injection on it, but we only added water injection on it mostly because we were just spraying it onto the surface of the radiator and the surface of the intercooler. And we put the tiniest nozzle in the intercooler just to add a smidge more intercooling to the engine. But we didn't activate it until he was over halfway up. As the air gets thinner and less dense, it pulls less heat out of your radiator and intercooler. And so we wanted to, well, I wanted to add more cooling to the radiator and the intercooler. So we hooked up an AEM system that used MAF voltage to trigger. Oh, that might not be true. Yeah, that's right. That I had sitting in a box somewhere, some old system I have on my cars. And we hooked it up. And instead of putting the nozzle in the engine, we put 2 nozzles on the radiator, 1 nozzle on the intercooler, and it was a 4-way splitter. So we put a tiny 0.1 or 0.2 into the intercooler itself, just to shoot a little bit into the engine for when the intercooler wasn't working as effectively. We ran it on a DOM-15. It had pump gas timing numbers on it. And he ran a 1045, I think it was, something like that, up Pike speed. I ran a rich. On my own car, or my customer cars that are dailies that they're not doing track driving on, and if they are track driving, I get in the track map, I'll run leaner on a gasoline scale, I'm running into the 12s on a gasoline scale. So like 0.83 to 0.85-ish lambda, somewhere in there is where I like to run on ethanol for someone's daily driven car. Now, if this was professional racing and I was doing something for like Roush Yates or a company like that, where fuel economy was really important, then we run that bitch all the way to stoic. We'd have exotic materials, obviously, in the engine, and we would run it stoichiometric, and we would utilize timing strategies or reduced overrun fuel cuts to and more oil piston oil squirters inside the engine, more squirting bars and that kind of stuff, improved cooling and oil cooling to help control engine temperature and pull that heat out. More exotic stuff that we don't have on Subaru, so you know, tough shit. So we gotta use the fuel to cool. But in those other engines, we would have other things like that in there for that, and we'd run the thing at like 14.7 or 1 lambda through the entire race. Hope that answered your question. I know it was verbose, but you need to know why, otherwise what's the point? You say all the reasons to add water meth. Yeah, I mean, that's the reason why you would want it, but then there's a fucking mountain of reasons why you would not want it, because it's just going to blow your shit up anyways if you use it. There's simply zero other tuners who will give us car guys access to their knowledge, experience, and answer these questions. You're awesome. Hey man, thank you very much. I'm glad you appreciate it. I'm happy to help. I mean, I think some of it's because I like to teach. I also know that a lot of people asking the questions, it would take them decades, because I got decades doing this, to gain the experience to put those things together themselves, if they ever did. And I also know that a lot of tuners out there don't fucking know it. To be honest with you, a lot of them don't know that stuff. There's so many tuners out there that are just like, I got a tune, I added a bunch of timing to it, pulled some fuel out, add the boost, there you go, there's your tune. I have no idea what anything they're doing actually does to the engines. And then a lot of the other ones play I Got a Secret. So you're gonna get a lot of I Got a Secret guys, and you get a lot of people that don't even fucking know the answer to the question, in real world stuff. Okay, so what's my fuel level? Fuel level is 1/4 of a tank. I'm pretty much done with pump gas tune. That's gonna make one little change to the AFR. I mentioned injector duty cycle earlier. That was dumb. It's got 1050s in it, so it's not injector duty cycle. I don't gotta worry about that. I will check cam timing. It's 0 through that region, which is fine. So I don't recall if this thing has a forged motor or not in it. I thought this thing was all stock, but I'm gonna double check with the guys just to make sure. I'm definitely gonna add some fuel in the pump gas portion for 2 reasons. One, he's got ethanol, so if he needs to make more power, then he can do it on ethanol. Might as well make the pump gas super safe and have all the fun on ethanol when it is safer to have it. You know what I'm saying? IRS, I built that engine at like 9 point, I don't recall what it was, 9.5 to 1, something like that. And at 2.5, the 9.5 1 compression. On pump gas, I had it super safe. I think I only had 14 pounds of boost. I had like 8 degrees of timing, maybe at peak boost. I had no timing on it, whatever. Why? Because I got flex fuel on it. And if I really need to go fast, add ethanol, add aggression, and do it safely. So this guy, I mean, shit, even with safety on this one, this guy, because his housing is still going to make more power than almost any of the other VF guys would be making. he's already in good shape, is what I'm getting at. And he'll be able to have a lot of fun and have fun safely because he has ethanol too. And if he just keeps it at like 40% ethanol, he's going to see significant gains across the board. I think gauge speed is too soon. I got it set up for a different transmission. You gotta turn off the traction control. That makes a big difference. This is the stuff that's irritating right here. This is my least favorite part of tuning pump gas cars. I'll show you. Alright, RPM, engine speed, 2300 RPM. Feedback knock, timing was 8 fucking degrees, right? That's it, 8 degrees. Boost, 7. Seriously, Subaru? Like, there's no fucking reason this car should be knocking at that boost or timing. That's irritating as shit. Let me bring the graphs here. I made a bunch more low-end torque, actually, surprisingly enough. I made less top-end horsepower, which makes sense because I pulled timing out of it, and I added fuel. So I would expect less top-end power. My AFRs should be richer as well, and they are. They're a little richer, but on top it's still the same lean, a little dippy there. It's actually quite a bit richer through here where it's supposedly knocked. It's way richer. It's almost 10 to 1 down there. And yet it's like, no, I want to do a knock a bit. Ugh. Sometimes I hate these things. So that's annoying. That is annoying. Could be engine noise. I mean, the odds of actual knock happening at 8 degrees after before top dead center and only 7 pounds of boost on it, that is really, really low. Especially at a 10.5 to 1 AFR. That is really low. You know how slow that fuel is burning at 10.5 to 1 AFR? It's burning really damn slow. Yeah, the dam is 0.68. Now I haven't fixed that since I did the pulls earlier, but typically it'll advance itself as it sees fit. And it's not seeing fit. It wants to run this really low, stupid timing. And it's just not right. It's just not right. If it's actually somehow knocking at this rich AFR with no timing and medium load on it, that means that there's mechanical damage to the engine or excessive carbon buildup or something's just nasty, dirty, or faulty, or one cylinder's super lean because the fuel injectors are dicked up. But like, there's no way that should be happening. There's no way. gonna look and see. This is a car had that really weird thing with the map being all wonky that I started tuning a couple weeks ago. So I'm just gonna look real quick and see if there's anything in here in the knock control that's in modified. No, beyond what Cobb changed. So no, the answer is no to that. The sensitivity is exactly the same. None of that's changed. All the Cobb does is just change the range a little bit, because the modified cars get a higher range of operation, so they just increase the range that the knock control system can work. Let's see, they added 400 RPM up top and stuff so that it stays active longer, and all of that. So if we go here, factory 63, 64, and they raised it to 67, 68. Now, I'm not sure that's necessarily a good idea. I know that when I went to some of my tuning schools I took, they said, you know what, up here, knock doesn't even happen. Piston speed's so freaking high that it's not actually occurring. Which brings up a post that I made a long time ago. I misspoke in my post back in 2010 on Naziok. I read it actually the other day because someone sent me a link to the thread, and I had said that the piston speed was slower on the 2.5 at TDC, and that's wrong. It's faster at TDC. It's slower at bottom dead center, but I misspoke in that post. But anyways, one of my schools, they're like, yeah man, over $6,000, like knock doesn't fucking happen. And if you look at what Subaru said it at 63, and Cobb bumped it up to 67. So I don't know if that necessarily was a good idea or not. Subaru has an idea what's going on. I mean, so does Cobb, and anyway, can dog on Cobb. Now, what Cobb did is they raised the load at which it could happen too. The factory, it stops use at 295 to 3. I don't know why Subaru put a cap on that. That part I think is kind of odd. I would think the higher the load, the more you want it to be active, especially when it's pump gas or something. But they added 400 to this too. This was also 63. This is the RPM range and the load range, so that's going to be when that table is active. Oh, weird. It just showed me that. Why is it not there now? That's weird. Something's going on with that. Oh, because I'm on comparison. Okay. I was like, what? Active. There we go. So you see over here, over 62 and 56 at this load range, it pulled a little bit there on top of a dam drop. So it's really odd. Knock sensitivity is still stock. You see that it's not highlighted black. Threshold, stock thresholds, which are pretty low on this car from the factory. A lot of Subarus are actually higher than that in this range, but I don't know why. If it has forged pistons though, you got to bump this up a little bit. Don't go ham with it because you'll make it not hear actual knock events. But you got to bump it up a little bit because those pistons make noise, and in the background noise section too, you can adjust the weighting factor for the noise if you need to. That one. So, anyways, I am going to go ask about this engine and make sure it's a stock bottom end and not something forged, just clacking away, making noise. And then I'm going to continue. Let me save. Save that. Close this. Reset the ECU. I want the dam to come back up. After you set the ECU, you see the cruise and set lights? When the cruise and set light is lit, the ECU is performing a throttle calibration when you first turn the key on, and that's why it won't let you start after a reset for a while, because you see those stay lit for a long time. When you do it normally, flash, and it goes away again, same thing. Oh, well, it's not doing a calibration that time, but when they're lit on the first start, during that time, there's a throttle calibration happening. And you put your head under the hood and you do it, you can hear it go, and it sweeps the throttle blade, the full travel both directions to establish the voltages that it knows now are 0 and 100%. sometimes you get a faulty throttle body and it'll have like a busted tooth or a chipped tooth inside, and you'll get these really weird erratic idle things, and that's partially because the motor can't reset correctly, it doesn't see the smooth sweep, but also because you will often be idling around where that chipped tooth is, and the throttle blade is free to flop around in between the teeth on the motor. And in some cases, if it is able to move far enough, then it can actually skip a tooth. But that's rare. The skip tooth is rare. But faulty throttle bodies is not that rare. It definitely happens. This car had one, actually. This car? I think it was this car, another car had one, and the idle would dip really bad, down into 500 or less for no reason all the time, instead of the 750 that I got right now. Oh, and that's another thing. There's another thing. That tack, all the Subaru's tack, that's 0, and that's 500. For some reason, people think that that's like 250 or something, and it's, I don't know. But that's 0, that's 500, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1,000. All right, and that's my deformed fingernail. I got smashed when I was a kid in between two things. But yeah, so 0, 500. So that's a 750 RPM idle. Right there, 750. A lot of people misread the tag guide, guys, and yeah, dude, why's my car idle at 250 RPM? I'm like, how would you know that? Well, it's on, on the tag shows me. I'm like, no, it doesn't. The tag does not show you 250. There's 0 and there's 500. Alright, I'm going to do another pull with the damn it 1, and I'm going to watch and see if it drops, where it drops, because that's data I need to know. Where is it acting like a little bit? And drop. Did not drop, but it did get a fine knock learning again. The exact same RPM in the exact same spot. And this time it was at a different timing value, and it still did it. So often that's noise. What's odd about it is it happens where the factory turns it off and Cobb enabled it. So I don't know if that's related to it or not. Cam timing isn't zeroing out completely. Look at that. It's going to 3 and kind of hovering around. That's interesting. I don't know why the cam timing is not zeroing out. Huh. Well, why is my closed loop fuel target? Okay, that's not the right one. Command filter. 11 out. Okay. That's weird. I guess where I have it set at 10 something right there. Oh, it's 10 right here. But the load is dropping, and so it leans out a smidge. So load drops to 2.6. Yeah, that's right where the fuel leans out some. So I'm going to change that fuel map. 2.6. I think I'm actually just going to change the scale on it, because honestly, from 2.6 to 3, I don't care if I have fuel map resolution above that, because I want it this pretty close to the same target to that whole range. So I'm going to change this to 2.7, which I can't do until I lower everything else down. Okay, so I'm going to go 2.7, because what's happening, what usually happens, it comes here and then it comes back this way. Now, for the timing map, it's super important I maintain resolution, so that as the load increases, I reduce timing. But for the fuel map, if my target's not going to be any richer, I don't need to have it. I can have it come off the fuel map, use this same target, and then come back on. Or I can sit here and punch in the number that I want, all the way down to all these load cells, all the way across here, and do all that. But I'm just going to do a little bit of a shortcut, because I know what I want to do. and I want it to be richer and follow this target through the power range. This is the target I want to follow. So I'm just going to change this one here, filter it across, no big deal, because the target's going to be the same in all my load cells above that anyways. That's what I'm going to do. Save a bunch of time trying to make a fuel map and go crazy. I'm going to change it a smidge though. Right there. Pull a tiny bit of fuel out of it right there. And go right here and do that. And that be right there. Okay. And I want this to blend into this a little bit, like so. And I want these two cells here like that. Okay. So that's what I'm going to do. That's going to improve that. Double check my ignition table. It does go to 3 and then falls back to 2.6. It might be more than it wants. Doesn't seem like it should be more than it wants, but it might. And since, like I said before, I got ethanol here. Make sure, okay, this was a fixed 6 until here it goes to 4. Since I have ethanol on this car, there's no reason to not leave it just a little safer on pump gas. No reason not to. Oops, wrong button. Like that. I'm gonna do with that. And I gotta fuck with some more shit. Okay. And what time is it? I'm supposed to tune another guy at 2:30, so I'm a little behind. Now I still gotta put ethanol in this car. I don't think the customer's here. Well, maybe he or she is. Hopefully not. If they are here, then I gotta pull this one off the dyno and get to go on their car. But I'm pretty sure the guy left is gonna pick it up at the end of the day. So there's no rush to get off the dyno. Gonna drop a little time right here. That should do good. That should help. Slash this. That looks like I made almost 300 wheel. $293. Power curve looks nice though. So look at that little whoopty around 4 grand. I should adjust the cam timing a little bit there, that'll help. Just a little too much of a whoopty. I like it to be a little smoother there. Show you. Bloop. Couple more adjustments, and then we throw ethanol in this thing. What reference points do you go off? Stock O2 or aftermarket AFR? What do you mean? The factory O2 sensor is not accurate. Unless you have an FA, the stock O2 sensor is not accurate in boost. You cannot use a stock O2 sensor to tune the car. If you use stock O2 sensor to tune the car in power, you are going to blow it up. It will fail, because it will indicate 11.0 when you're 13 and a half. The higher the boost, the more rich it will read, and the less accurate it will be. You will smoke that fucking motor in no time. I've seen so many customers, well, I verified AFRs were good, blah, 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 I'm tuning it myself. Okay, what was AFR? 11.10 or whatever it is based on the car. I'm like, you mean the minimum that the O2 sensor can read on that car?
Yeah, so it's good because it's 11. And actually it was like 13 and a half. No, it said it was 11. Yeah, but it doesn't work that way, dude. O2 sensors need to have proper exhaust pressure compensation to read in a pressurized environment. The O2 sensor on an EJ is before the turbo, therefore it sees a lot of pressure. And it does not read accurate in boost. You have to go open loop, and you cannot use the factory O2 sensor to tune these cars. So I don't ever use that as a reference point unless I'm in cruise and idle. Outside of cruise and idle, the factory O2 sensor is not even a function. It's not even a concern. I make sure it's turned off like it needs to be in those areas, and that's it. Make sure you turn it off soon enough, or you'll just run stupid lean. Peak EGT occurs at stoichiometric air-fuel ratio. So in a gasoline car, we operate on the rich side of stoichiometric. As you lean it towards 14.7 or 1 lambda, EGTs go up. A diesel operates on the other side of stoichiometric. It operates on the lean side, where the EGTs are cold. And as a diesel adds fuel to increase power, it richens up towards stoichiometric and EGTs go up again. So in the gasoline car, we run the highest EGTs by AFR in cruise, and then our AFR would dictate a lower EGT in power. We don't see that because there's so much more heat being produced in such a small void that the power density, we see high EGTs when we're in power. But if you just ran the car at the exact same load as stoic or 11-to-1, you're going to see a lower EGT at 11-to-1, and the highest will be at stoic. Diesel, same thing. You run it at 1.6 lambda, it's fine. That's where it lives. Nice cold 950 degree EGTs or something like that while cruising. Then you add power and you richen it up. You get closer to stoic, and that's when the EGT starts screaming up. But you got to have an accurate sensor to know where you're at. You cannot use the factory sensor if it's pre-turbo. If you monitor exhaust pressure, you can apply a compensation. The problem is that the factory Subaru sensor limits out at 11.0, so, which, like I said, based on boost, could be anywhere from 12 to 13.5. So you can't properly pressure compensate the factory O2 sensor on a Subaru because it's only like a 2.5 volt sensor. It's not a wide enough sensor for that, and it just doesn't have the range to do it. Alright, I'm gonna see if I can fix that whoop-de-whoop. Scoopity-whoop-de-boop, de-boop-de-scoop, de-flippity-whoop. Flippity-whoop, scoop, scoopity-boop-poop. I'm paraphrasing. lot less wiggle.
I want to double check. Lash on a turbo motor, is it 20 thou intake, 35 exhaust?
For what?
Valve lash?
No, it's 8 and 10.
8 and 10?
Yeah.
So
the 0.2 and 0.3, that's millimeters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's basically 8 and 10.
Oh, done. Also, that Forester, I got it. The valve, or the Forester we're talking about valve lash on like a couple weeks ago, that's what I'm referring to.
Okay.
So I pulled it in, I have the valve cover off, and the intake lobes, they have like rainbowing going on or whatever, the like missing material.
On the buckets or the
On
cams?
cylinder 3 intakes.
What kind of cams are in it?
Stock, it's bone stock.
I mean, they get a little bit of rainbow to them, you know, as they wear. There you go.
It's got a decent amount.
See the 0.2 millimeters?
Yeah.
It's 8 thou. So that's what you're seeing.
And then 35
on the
1.35
Subaru
millimeter.
one. On the Subaru manual, you can see that. Yeah, so 10 is 2.5. But technically, but the Subaru manual for a hollow cam car, I believe it's 8 to 12 intake and then 10 to 14
Right,
exhaust. So 14 exhaust would be 0.35.
Right, okay. Sounds good.
But we run them tighter because our customers are not going to do 200,000 miles on
So
it.
we want them closer to the 8 and 10 marks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. No knock, no Coles, no learns. The whoopty is pretty much gone at 4. Like I said, made a little less power because I did reduce timing overall. Because we got ethanol to mess with. So a little less wobble around the peak boost area. Getting closer. I mean, it's good. So I'm gonna put ethanol in it now. And then we're gonna have more fun, and I gotta get it done so I can get the other car done. Okay, what do we got? Knock sensor equals off. Any other tuner? Yeah, especially on the FAs. My car doesn't like meth. Yeah, I mean, so I have a lot of guys like, hey, what if I just put meth on there and don't tune for it? Yeah, you can't do that. It doesn't work that way. So some guys do that, and I'm like, that's not how it works. You add in a combustible to the engine. If you add enough for it to do fucking anything, it's going to end up running too rich, and you're going to have misfires and stuff, and lose horsepower. You're going to either quench spark or whatever. So you have to tune for it, and then you tune for it, and then something goes wrong, because something always goes wrong with methanol injection. It isn't like a matter of if, it's always a matter of when. When will I have an issue with this meth injection system, and when will the motor fail because of it? The fail-safes, they're fucking junk and garbage. Oh, and it's this fail-safe at low flow, it takes half a second to actuate, and blah. Oh, okay, half a second, right. How many combustion events happen in half a second? I don't remember. I can calculate it for you. Probably with the calculator and not the calendar. Apparently I can't spell. There it goes. But I think it's like 150 or something combustion events happen in a half a second. And you mean to tell me that in 150 combustion events, without the proper AFR and timing, no damage is going to occur? Yeah, you can take that fail-safe and shut up your ass, because that ain't fucking doing shit. So, yeah, all those methanol system fail-safes are total garbage. It's just a gimmick. And it's just something that makes it an even higher chance that this system is going to fail on. People suck that aqua mist dick all the time, and it's fucking horrendous. It is the worst system I've ever dealt with. 9 out of 10 cars that show up with that system, you got to fight the system the whole time. It's faulty, it doesn't work, I gotta replace components, it's blowing fuses, it's got fucking leaks everywhere. It's just trash. It's fucking trash. Fuck Aquamist. That shit sucks. Don't put that in your car. If you have to run a meth system, then there's 3 simple rules to run a meth system to be as reliable as possible. One, as few fucking wires as possible. The simpler the system, the better. Two, get a tank that's vertical. Long, skinny vertical tank, so you reduce the chance of sucking air into the damn thing. And three, use a system that utilizes the exact same air metering device that your ECU uses. If your speed density, well, let me go back on that. If you're map-based, it's got to be boost-based. If you're math-based, it's got to be math-based, and they make them. They make meth kits that activate based on mass airflow sensor voltage. The issue is in comp speed density. The timing map is not based on boost. The time map is based on grams per second. It's basically based on math. And so that creates an issue when you're trying to use either system, math or map-based system, to have the proper load axes in your maps as the ethanol system activates. Methanol system activates. Add in delays in activation because you have the switch closing and then the pump spinning up and the pressure ramping up with it on most systems. And then you have this delay, and that delay time in first gear could be 15 to 1800 RPM of tack sweep before the system is even able to engage and get going. Whereas in sixth gear, it would only be like 200 degrees of tack sweep. So now I have to think about my tuning based on my gear by the response time of my methanol system. So rule number 4, I said 3, but rule number 4 is just don't fucking use them. They suck. They suck. It's just, you're going to blow it up. Now, if you're fine with understanding that it is only a matter of time until it fails, then take the money to fucking fix the engine, put it into a savings account, and just leave it there and run your meth system until it fails. Because you're gonna need it. That's just how it goes. Okay, so let's do this. So let's say we got, say we're at 6,000 RPM. So that's 6,000 revolutions per minute. That's engine revolutions. Now, in that 6,000 engine revolutions, there are how many combustion events? Well, I cut that in half for one because there's 720 degrees per combustion event. But then it's a 4-cylinder, so I have 2 per revolution. So I'm back to 6,000, and then that's per minute. So I'll divide that by 60. That's obviously going to be 100. So that's 100 per second. And that means any one cylinder fires 50 times in that second. So one cylinder fired 25 times in half a second at 6,000 RPM. That's just an example. So even then, 25 to 50 times a second based on what RPM we're doing and that kind of thing. That's still a lot of combustion events. That's still a lot of times that piston is firing without the proper AFR. Clear, please, thank you. So, anyways, yeah, I don't like meth. It's bad for your teeth too, from what I hear. Hey Dom, quick question on 255. I just finished intake AVCS. Left and right advance supposed to always be the same degree. I've been driving this left and right intake advancing to different degrees in ROM rating. They should be within 3 degrees. 3 degrees in a transient, the same in steady state. Within a degree or so of steady state. They should be fucking on each other. If you're getting the one that's laggy and it's overshooting one and the other one's following the map correctly, then you got a bad solenoid, most likely. If you have aftermarket cams or you had a previous bearing failure in the engine and someone took your cams apart, your cam gears apart to clean out the material, they probably put them together wrong and the other one's sticking and binding up, or a myriad of other things could be happening. But usually it's the solenoid is either dirty internally is slow to respond or it's sticking. So most of the time I just put new solo in and ta-da, it's good to go. Yeah, banjo filter, it can be, but it's not as common. But I would definitely, check it out based on the miles you got. I don't know if GIB said or not. He didn't say if it could be clogged or not. But I mean, if you run good oil and you change it at the right frequency, you shouldn't have clogged banjos. All right, well, that's good. I'm gonna add ethanol this thing. We gotta get out and do that. You're very welcome. Ah! Turn this off. Disconnects. Yep. Alright, so 5 gallons of ethanol is in this bitch. Alright, here we go. Ethanol. Oopsie. See, is it going up? Fuel pressure, ethanol. There it is. It's climbing. I don't know how high it's going to go because it's winter blend ethanol from the pump, and we already had about a quarter of a tank in it, which is, you know, a little under 5 gallons. So it should meet us in the middle somewhere. It's coming. We're at 50%. All right. Let's see. 50% on the old E. Check this out. Let's watch this. Alright. So I had a customer email me, and he's talking about his engine, and he's like, I don't understand how I got rod knock. My knock sensor never went off. And I was like, well, it's not the kind of knock. They're not really related there. I mean, one of them could cause the other one. Excessive knock could cause you to spin a rod bearing, absolutely. But it's not a rod bearing detector.
Exhaust valve, the very back one, I can't even get a .0015 thou in there. I tried to do the 10 thou, no way.
And the valves and the cams turned up and everything?
Yeah, lobes are on the very top. The front one's good.
How many miles are on it?
I don't know, I'd have to look. But
So as time passes, the lash goes down as the seats and the valve seating surface bash themselves together thousands of times, you know, a drive. So lash gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and then eventually a valve burns because it doesn't stay.
and that's what I think was starting to happen. Leak down came back okay, so like it caught it just in time. But intakes were perfect. They were 9 thou, so just a hair over minimum, which was fine.
Yep.
And then the front one was at like 12 on the exhaust on 3. And the back one, I stuck the thinnest one I had in there and it wouldn't go.
Huh.
I did a .08.
I had foreign body in there or something in the way.
Maybe.
Make sure nothing in the way.
But that was one that was misfiring.
Oh, was it? Okay, so that's hanging the valve open.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what we're suspecting. So, because I checked the coil packs, spark plugs were going to stop feed injectors, and right when I pulled it in, it ran perfect because it was cold.
Yep.
That was the one
it warms up misfires.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was the one that it misfire idle and I'd rev it up and it'd go away because the lash is changing obviously. But
Right.
so
Yep. Sounds like you found it.
yeah, pull the motor now.
Yep. Make sure the owner knows. Make sure the owner knows. Make sure the owner of the car knows.
Yeah,
the
well,
next step.
we're gonna call him. So
Yeah.
just want to know what it was.
Gotcha. All right, 55% is what it came to. And I get feedback knock on a tip and event. Yeah, I'm not convinced. Because I'm sorry, but 55% ethanol in here, and basically the same running ignition as the pump gas map, there's no freaking way it should be throwing tip and knock. That's going to be an issue with noise. Just thinking of a rod bearing about to go, could be a piston slap, could be all kinds of things, but it could be the clutch even, I've had to do that. Could be something banging against the engine. Could be a failing knock sensor, could be loose, could be cracked, could be a wiring issue, could be lots of stuff, but there's just no way that knock is happening on ethanol like this at tipping like that. Just not happening. And if it is, something's fucked up. And then there's that harmonic, right? At that RPM, that harmonic that shakes the phone off the dash. That's it's a pretty strong one. At a very specific RPM. Come on, scroll please. It's the exhaust manifold. Check the nuts. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, Australians and Nazis. That's an interesting name. I actually went to Australia in 2014. Wonderful time. The Aussies, very, very welcoming to Americans. They almost consider us like brothers. They're super cool. It was a very good time. Very good time. Every Australian that we met was just awesome. Each one of them wanted to do whatever they possibly could to make our trip as memorable as possible. They were really awesome. It was a great time. It was the best vacation that we have ever had, my wife and I. And it was because of the hospitality and the kindness of the Australians while we were there. Forget the fact that I got to go to V8 Supercar and watch and meet my favorite drivers. Met a bunch of them at various shindigs that we went to, and then pit lane passes, and then I met TV announcers at this one party, and they let me into the pit, and I got to go into Red Bull Racing's garage, right, and meet the crew and check the cars out up close and everything. That was fucking amazing. That stuff was all awesome, but it was because the Australian people were so awesome. And then I had other guys I ran into, them talking to them like, "Oh, you're from the States?" Like, "Yeah." You go, "You want to go in the pits? I can take you in the back." And I'm like, I just came from there, actually. I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, if you want to go again, let me know." Like, random people were just always doing what they could to make us ensure that our trip was awesome. It was really cool. Great trip. And like I said, I got to meet my favorite driver. Not just that, but we sat there and chatted for like 20 minutes in the Red Bull garage and shot the shit about cars and life and that kind of thing. And that was really cool. And unfortunately, I can't remember shit that we talked about. I know that it was about those things, but the actual words of the conversation, I can't remember them because I was just so pumped and amped about being in there and talking to people and everybody. So I wish I could remember more of what was said in our conversation. But you know, regardless, though, it was a great time. It was a fucking great time. All right, so right now I'm working on the higher boost area of the tune for the ethanol. Now, that being said, when you bump up to a housing this large, your boost drops and you can't get it back. Is that bad? Not at all. It's actually great. It's one of the other parts of this whole thing that's really awesome, is that by increasing the flow rate through the turbine housing, it reduces the boost pressure for the same flow rate, and it puts the compressor in a more efficient spot on the compressor map, and that also unlocks power. So this thing, with only a couple degrees of timing now on ethanol, picked up 20 wheel horsepower, and I wish this thing would go away. Maybe 50 foot-pounds of torque. I got to rescale the graphs now because it all went up so high. Give me a second. Yeah, 50 foot-pounds of torque. Picked up 50 foot-pounds of torque through the mid-range, and then on the top end, that torque drop goes down, and so the horsepower gain is only like 20 wheel right now at Redline, but through the entire mid-range, it's monstrous. 50 foot-pounds. Look at this. I'll show you. Right there on the left, you see the red and the green. That is a 50 foot-pound increment, so it's like 48 foot-pounds there. Basically 50. So that's at 42. And timing at that spot was Then I didn't look at 4 grand before. So 4 grand here, it's only 15.5 degrees at 4 grand there. At 42, it's 16 degrees at 16 pounds of boost. That's almost pump gas numbers for an EJ with B25 or V25 or W25 heads. That's not pump gas numbers for a D25 head car, but that still is overall relatively conservative for an ethanol tune. And I only added 2 degrees at redline, so they had 3 or so degrees in the mid-range more and 2 up top, and that might be why that horsepower gain wasn't as high up top. Also, commanded fuel was only a tiny bit leaner. We can probably just show that. Let's do that. Boost was identical. Air fuel was definitely there. I'll show you there. So boost was identical, like on the same line. And air fuel was leaner by about half a point. No, that's not true. Almost a full point, actually. Yeah, like 0.8 AFR points. So picked up a lot of power in ignition timing and leaner air fuels. It took away our APS. APS was shit. APS had like 4 cool things. Their intakes were trash. They had huge transitions right in front of the mass airflow sensor, right behind the mass airflow sensor, and an extremely turbulent mass airflow sensor curve. Their cold air intake had a hard 90 and a bunch of transitions up for the sensor. That was trash. That had the worst calibration outside of the K and N for the GR. It was bad. The Tama intercooler was big, but it was still a big ass bar and plate, so it was okay. The front mounts were gigantic, which I liked. I liked that they had mounting points for all the pipes, because you fucking need mounting points for pipes. I don't know why so many manufacturers don't get that. That you need to mount the pipes. The silicone coupler should not have the responsibility of holding the pipe together and hold the air in. The silicone coupler's only job should hold the air in, and then the pipes should be mounted in ways that the silicone coupler doesn't have to do that. So I like the APS had that stuff. I like that they had a really big charge pipe before the throttle body. That's a very important thing that nobody seems to get in the US for some reason. It's why my intercooler kits have the big torque box above the throttle body, to get a big volume of air in front of the throttle body, so you're not trying to accelerate the whole column to get air in the engine. The air is readily available to go into the engine. I like that about them. I like their end tanks were a cast end tank that fit a little better. I did like that. I hated their arrogance. We asked them some questions, and their only answer was like, well, they're fully engineered. Like, okay, but like, you know, what about this and this? Well, they're fully engineered. Okay. So can you tell me about the process behind this and that? Well, they're fully engineered. Like, okay, well, obviously we're getting nowhere in this conversation, so fuck you guys on that. They had some cool twin turbo setups that were really neat. So I guess saying that they were shit was not right. Their intake was shit. Intake was absolute shit. But everything else was pretty decent. And they had some good shit, and they had some bad shit. Their pipes were stainless though, which was heavy as balls. That was a bummer. There's no reason to make your intercooler pipes out of stainless. The fitment was all right, but they had brackets, and brackets are important. And what else? They had twin turbo kits that were pretty decent. They had some exhaust stuff that was all right. They had some terrible turbos though. Turbos were shit. But yeah, they had some good stuff. What the fuck was that? Looked like a 747 tail wing going down the freeway.
just sticking up below all the houses. It was just a big tail fin, vertical stabilizer going by past all the buildings. It was huge. I had no idea what that was. Oh yeah, the TGV foolers. Yeah, I mean, that was 03 or 04 when they made those, and that was a good idea. That was definitely a way of solving a problem at the time when tuning wasn't available for it. Definitely solved the problem with that for sure. I can't fault them for that at all. I mean, it's just two blocks that tied the two together. It wasn't a difficult part to engineer or produce. It was just a block with some holes in it. But it definitely solved the problem. The problem that at the time definitely needed solving. Obviously not anymore. That would have absolutely no point or purpose today. So there was that side of it. God, that intake was so bad though. So bad. And attaching that goddamn filter, that was just the worst thing ever. I cannot tell you how many hours I have spent trying to reattach the intake filter on an APS front mount system. Too many. Too much of my life, that's for sure. Alright, I think that's all the timing I want to add up there. I think I need to adjust my turbo dynamics because I feel like it's cutting too much turbo dynamics, or too much duty cycle, I mean, with temperature. So I need to go to wastegate duty and intake air temp and see what I got set at. Oh yeah, that's way too much. Okay, I had to reduce that. Alright, so I gotta flash this change so that it takes effect, otherwise the wastegate duty stuff won't take. And then hopefully it'll attain more boost. Maybe, we'll see. I added a little more timing up top. Try and keep that, see if I can keep that 50 foot-pound torque increase to the range, add a little bit of boost. I didn't tweak the fueling at all, even though I definitely have room to. Alright. Any other comments I missed? No. Alright. Is anybody here right now that has been there since the beginning of the video? That's my question. I want to know who has sat here through this whole thing. If there's anybody. Looks like nobody. I also want to know what kind of parts you did, Bradley. Yeah, you're pretty close. I think you're about 20-30 minutes in. What kind of parts you'd like to see made? You got any ideas? You lurk in your head and you're like, you've been sitting on it for a while and you're like, oh, I'm gonna come up with this, but then you never did. Let me know. Maybe I can make it happen. Sorry, I'm watching the ABCS and the air fuel correction right now. Waiting for the cams to go closed loop. They do that. There's a little bit of a warm-up period. They don't activate. Luke, if you're watching this, I hate your shifter. I don't mind the shift knob, but I hate the shifter. Way too short. There's not a professional driver in the world that would want this something this short. Nobody. Watch the phone hit a resonance and go, what? And fall over. All right. Let's see what we got. 51%. We got no knock events. Okay. We got a closed loop, no, commanded fuel of 11.5-ish. I'm getting about that outside. Again, that's the gasoline scale, that's not actual AFR. Turbodynamics, I can't quite seem to hit the boost targets I have put in here. That's because of the larger housing. That's totally okay. Because it's going to be on ethanol, I'm going to let it keep trying to hit those targets so that on really cold days or closer to sea level, he's able to hit those things and get extra power out of it. Make more power needed today. I'm totally okay with that. With ethanol, there's enough protections built into that it's going to work out. Okay, sweet. How about parts that are compatible with 5th gen LGTs? Yeah, I mean, that car alone's already a joke. Just kidding, just kidding. Is that shifter grinding your gears? Womp, womp. Not my gears. Yes. 5th gen Legacy is a hard thing to do parts for because Subaru messes so many things up. There's a lot of stuff that still fits. Like the Grimspeed top mount, for example, fits. Cobb's got an intake, I think, for it. Or if not, we made one. I think we made one. I think we used an SF and mounted it vertically or something in there. We did a rotated turbo kit for one already. Well, I don't know. I don't know why it wouldn't. It's the same format. It should fit. I need to find one to look at, but I don't know why not. My light enough pulley fits in the factory location. It's the same dimensions as it. Is the 5th gen a single serpentine, or is it still 2 pulleys? I don't think it's single serpentine, right? On the EJ? It is on the EZ, of course. But it's still an EJ. Alright, so calculated load to hit 3.3. 3.3, again, 55% ethanol. I got 8.5 degrees of timing at 3,000. So when boost comes flying in, the timing drops a lot. That's going to help keep this transmission together and these heads on. And then after boost stabilizes near the peak, the timing starts to climb relatively rapidly, all the way to red line, and that's what gives us our power curve. Let's take a look at it. I need to bring it up for a slow second. Let me do that. Right now, it's. Let me show you. Let me show you what I got now. Right now, I got air, fuel, and boost. Air fuel is the same as the last pole. Actually, tiny bit richer than the last pole, with a tiny bit more boost than the last pole. Can't read the power. Let me get these other curves out of the way so I can read them. I'm gonna leave the last one up with this one, and then change it over to horsepower. Whoops, that's not horsepower. That's horsepower.
Power looks the freaking same. I got 2 horsepower. I got 2 horsepower up top. You get 2 horsepower. By adding a degree of timing, you only get 2 horsepower. That degree is not doing anything. Take it back out. Yeah, the screen was static because it was in my lap while I was trying to use my hands. Still a nice curve, but I don't think there's much left in this thing. I mean, I know usually you add ethanol and you get a lot of power out of it, but I think we're already getting so much out of that turbine housing. I don't think it's going to do anything if I add any more oomph to it. Yeah, I've got 5 degrees more timing on it up top compared to what I have on pump gas. That is, that's a significant jump in timing. And that last one I added about a degree, and I didn't get anything out of it. So I think that's it. I think that's all this thing's going to make. It could be a limitation of a component that's limiting our power output. I mean, not that I get a lot of that's not true. I do get VFs that do more than 310 on ethanol with the regular housing, but this one ain't doing it. Oh wait. Yeah, I don't see anything. The log was clean. I can't change cam timing anywhere up top that's going to get us any power. You want to be zeroed on the top ends, so I got nothing there. It won't add any more boosts. Wasty duty cycle is basically maxed out. 88% up top. So nothing happening up there. I added timing, nothing happened. Oh, I can still pull some fuel. I can definitely pull some fuel. And see if that wakes it up a little bit more. So let's pull a couple points of AFR out of it and just see if the power goes up. And that's all I can do. You know, if it doesn't make any more power on this, there's nothing else I can do. It means that I have reached the limit of something. It's still in the stock intercooler. So it could be stock intercooler, it could be something in its exhaust, it could be the factory turbo inlet, because those things are kind of restrictive. It's something, but we have reached the limit of something. It is single accessory belt? Okay, that's what I was asking. Yeah, if it's single accessory belt, then yeah, of course it won't fit. I can make a single accessory belt one, that'd be easy. I can do that in no time. Does it fit the EZs as well, or is it strictly a 5th gen pulley? You know what? Let me just look it up. While this car goes through its warm-up cycles for the AVCS. Legacy 2.5 turbo 6MT GT premium sedan. Go. We'll go to engine and cooling. Number 12305. 12305 engine crankshaft pulley. Oh, it's got a damper piece on the front though that sticks off the front. That means I could potentially make a single rib pulley that still fits my damper on the front of it. Yeah. What does it fit? 2 Subaru models from 10 to 12. The Outback and the Legacy. Oh, the NA one too though. So it fits the NA one as well as the turbo one. But yeah, looking at it, looks like I have enough room for my damper on the front of it if I made a single pulley. So I could do that. What I would need would be a group buy to fund the cost of this and to ensure that I could even make any fucking money on it, or even break even for that matter. I would need a group buy on that. So if there's a 5th gen Legacy forum or some shit that you're part of, and you want me to do one, you can show up pictures of my pulley and my damper, and we can see if there's any interest in it, and I can make them for the car. Whether it's just the pulley itself, that's fine, you can do that, or pulley and the damper, you know, whatever. So we need a group buy on that, but I'm more than happy to do it. I got no issues with that. I just need to make sure that I can, you know, afford it. It's got to be viable. If it's just a single one-off run for those group buy people, then that's it. That's what you guys get, and that's all she wrote. That might be something that appeals to some people, to have a limited run of a part. Some people might want something you can buy anytime, any day. So I don't know which would appeal to you in particular, but if you want something like that, then there needs to be enough people to cover the cost and to make it worthwhile. Otherwise, I can't. And obviously, since it's going to be for only 2 vehicles over 3 years, it's going to be a little more expensive than what I currently have. On the bright side, it is less material, so it does material cost. Material cost is just a fraction of the cost, really. Well, that's not true. Right now, it's not. Right now, it's pretty high cost because the material is fucking through the roof. But machine time is the big thing. $100-something an hour on the machine, and the pulley is taking a portion of that on its own, plus different ops, moving it around different machines, and the tumbling and anodizing and all that shit. So it will be more expensive than what it is for the EJs, for the regular EJs, but I can do it. So if you get enough people that are interested, we can make it happen. This doesn't show the EZ36 pulley being the same. It only says it fits the 2.5 liters, and only for those 2 years or 3 years and two models. So it definitely isn't the same. I think, well, you know, the number of people is going to affect the price. So if it's only 10 people, it's going to cost more than if there's 20 people. But I think I'd say at least 10. I think we need at least 10 to be able to make it work. And then I gotta get my hands on a stock one so I can look at it, make sure my dimensions are right. So I need a stock one and that kind of stuff. So I need a stock one in my hands, and I need, like I said, at least 10 people. I'm not totally sure 10 would even work, but I'd have to check it out, see. Looks like the backside dimension is the same, so half of that's already done. The front side of this one doesn't show a damper section on it on this picture, but this picture shows a damper section on it. So yeah, I gotta get a stock one in my hand so I know if there's damper section or room or not. This one is showing that there's a damper on it. So I have two different pictures here. Let me show you. This picture says there's a damper. This picture shows that there's not. So I don't really know which one it's supposed to be. That one or this one. Where do you go? Wrong one. I think it goes down further. Oops, wrong side. Correct, the damper's not on my site. Damper's not on there yet because it's still in testing. Damper's still in testing until I get the viscosity figured out. I won't be able to sell it, so I have to test it and change the oil viscosity and test it again and see if I'm damping the right regions of the curve. Yeah, I only have one damper right now. Uncoated, raw, just one damper. Dude, I've been tripping on it for weeks. I'm so excited. Like, it's such a cool unit. I wish I could show you the insides, man. I wish I could show you the insides. It is fucking sweet. Forgot to turn off traction control. Let's try it again. Nothing. Not a damn thing. Let's see. Let's bring these two curves up again. Wait a second. It didn't go any leaner. What the fuck? That's weird.
It didn't go any leaner. Why didn't it go any leaner? I mean, I got the fuel map significantly leaner. Huh, that's right. But I'm going to change this here anyways, because I want this curve to be a little different. But it should have been a lot leaner, and it wasn't. Okay, ethanol. No, there are no updates on that as of yet. I was waiting on some things to happen. They did just recently happen, so I'm excited for those things. Once I finish up the damper, then I will be moving back onto the air-water intercooler. I was having foundry issues, trying to get a good foundry to do it, and with all the supply chain issues, it didn't make any sense for me to go and dump a bunch of money into having a bunch of intakes made in China or Taiwan or wherever, just so they could sit in a cargo ship off the freaking coast. And so due to that and just money, because I had not sold a cooling mod since June, not because nobody wanted to buy them, but because I had no materials. Luckily my hoses came in. You may have seen the post on Facebook and stuff. My hoses came in, I got materials. My wife, she's the bomb, she's awesome. She made 550 cooling mods this weekend. 550. Worked her ass off doing cooling mods, which brings a bunch of money back into my accounts because I pretty much paid for all those materials already. And so now I get money back in the account so I can put money towards the other projects. But all the money I had in materials was just stupid. I had so many fittings. And yeah, I made a shout at her on Facebook too. She's the bomb. She's awesome. I'm lucky as hell to have her. Alright, so I think that's it. I think that's all this car's going to do. I'm going to flash this one change and see what happens, but I think that's all we're getting. I think she's going to be a little bitch. Yeah, my wife rocks. She's awesome. So, anyways, now that I get money back in my accounts, I can finish projects. And the test car for the dampers wasn't done, so I couldn't find parts and shit for it. And so I finally got it done just a couple days ago. I got like the last part for it a couple days ago, which means it's time to do it. But I have a car in my shop right now that's not mine. It's my friend's dad's car, and I need to get it out of my freaking shop so I can have my shop back. It's a gigantic 1969 Oldsmobile Toronado front-wheel drive big block motherfucker. It's so huge. It takes up so much space. I need it out of there so I can get the Subaru in there and get it to where I can do the pulleys and all that kind of stuff. Like, I can't put the Subaru behind that car if they're both on the ground because that car is so fucking long. It almost hits the toolbox or my shelf
my workbench, Jesus, in front of my lift. It's so freaking long. For the Subaru, tons of room between the workbench and the car on the lift. But that Oldsmobile is so long, I like have to shimmy between the toolbox and the car to get by it with it on the ground. So it's just way too damn big, takes too much space, and I need to get him his car back anyway so we can have it. So I got to finish that this weekend, and then I'm going to focus on testing my damper next week. The owner of that car had a lot of dreams of what he wanted to do with it before he sells it, but they're not going to happen because I found some issues that aren't going to be. They're not going to be fixable in any amount of time or capacity by me. I could do it, but I don't have the time to do it. Capability, but just no time, and it would require pulling the transmission out and a bunch of other stuff. So we're just going to make it run again and give it to him so he can sell it or whatever. It's got 53,000 original miles on it. So it's a front-wheel drive Oldsmobile Tornado with a 455 cubic inch engine on it. It came with a 4-barrel carburetor on it. I put a new carb on it, and yeah, it's got 53,000 original miles, or 56,000 original miles on the car. So, as such, though, it hasn't moved since 1990, and a lot of the rubber is shot to shit. Like, you know, the shock mounts and sway bars and the axle boots on the front are gone. It was really weird seeing a DOJ and a CV on a 1969. That was a trip because those weren't that mainstream then, because most things were still solid rear axles. Yeah, they had some cars that were independent rears then, but it wasn't common at all. So that was kind of neat seeing that. It's got a truck style steering system on it with a big steering box and a drag link and all that stuff. So pivot arm, idler arm, and all that. That's kind of weird seeing it on it too. So it's an interesting car, that's for sure. It's in really good shape. It just has a leaky freeze plug on the side of the freaking rear end, or not rear end, front diff. You gotta take the front diff off to get to, and that's gonna be a no for me. That's gonna be a no for me, dog. My phone's dying. Unfortunately, it's at 15%. So I didn't mute the screen soon enough, or dim the screen soon enough. And I did an OS update on the phone today. And check one thing for this last poll. Ah! Living that no case life on my phone. Still probably turn off the traction control. Let's try that again. Yeah, that's it. 314, that's all this bitch is doing. That's all she gonna do. Alright, well that's it for this one. And my phone's dying, so I have to shut her down. It's at 10% battery. So it has to go anyways, but thanks for sticking around. Oh, I gotta show you the graph, right? That's be kind of dick-like. Anticlimactic. Let me turn this fucking thing around real quick. Give me a second. There we go. Let me get rid of all the other graphs. Bring up just this one. Alright. Get rid of that. There you go. So that's the final curve. Carries nicely. Should be fun. Anyways, guys, for those that are still here, I appreciate you sticking around. I'm trying to turn this camera around, but it's not doing it. There it goes. 255. Yeah, it's a 255. It's a 11 WRX with Mamba housing on the VF52, stock intercooler, a bunch of stock stuff on it, but also it's got a cob intake and an exhaust and the bigger trim housing. This is on ethanol. It's a little low for ethanol on this dyno and this setup. It was high on pump gas. It was a lot higher on pump than they usually are, but it was kind of low on ethanol, lower than it should be on ethanol. I think that's the other limitations in the setup. But I don't know. And this is basically where it's going to be. As it is still going to rip. Usually this turbo on this dyno on this platform is about 270 wheel, 265 to 270 wheel after full stage 2 or whatever you want to call it, with an exhaust and intake and full tune. That's just what these things make on this dyno, which is like 310 on my old dyno or 315 or something. I don't know, whatever it was, stupid high. And then with ethanol, typically a car like that, like an STI, not even like 215. Typically an STI would be almost 3 1/4 if it had all the bolt-ons you could have on the stock turbo with ethanol. Obviously this got the black manifold, so it flows a little less. It doesn't quite get you there, and the intercoolers, these intercoolers actually flow a little less because they're narrower. So it's just, they just usually make a little less power. Also the chamber sucks. I hate the heads on these. I hate the combustion chambers on them. The STI chamber is better, just flows better. It's, in my opinion, at least my experience, I've never had the D25 perform anywhere near what a B25, W25 does. I think there's a reason the STI has their own chamber that they put on these engines. So, anyways, that's what she's doing. It should rip though. Should be a good time. And R&D continues. In the meantime, though, Thanksgiving. So we're gonna visit the family tomorrow and Thursday. So I won't be streaming or tuning or working. I hope you all have a great Thanksgiving. Hopefully we have a fun one too. Don't run into any issues driving. I'm gonna make some cookies. We're gonna make some pies. We're gonna feast. And then meet up with some friends afterwards. Have some drinks at the bar. It's be a good time. And then this weekend come back, work on some shit this weekend, and then start working on damper testing next weekend, provided everything works out. So that's it. I hope you all have a good Thanksgiving. Thanks for sticking around, and have a good weekend as well.